very sweaty shirt is a Onefinity shirt, and then I have a Onefinity banner on the wall. That does not mean that I'm sponsored by Onefinity. They like my videos, so they sent out a care package to celebrate their 2 years of Onefinity madness. They sent me a new mount for the screen, which is very cool. Was not expecting that at all. Let's talk about that. So this is the new mount. I am just pleased as a peach with it. Now the old mount, mine never fell off. It just felt like it was going to fall off. I was always very gentle with it because it was a magnetic mount, and that magnetic mount, the whole thing, like this rattles around a little bit, the whole thing on the other one rattles around a whole lot. This is great. I feel like I can bump into this all day long and it's not going to fall on the floor or anything like that. I do like the angle that it's at, and I like that it's a little bit higher than the old mount, so the old mount is gone and new mount is in. So this accessory has changed the look of my machine a whole lot. It makes me look super pro, and I think that's pretty cool. So up here is a 3D printed part, and your dust boot just kind of indexes right into it. And the nice part about that is you can have your dust boot out of the way when you're changing your bits. That's what, of course, most people are going to be using that for. But for me, I film a whole lot of stuff, and when I'm filming like V-bits going in and out, I don't want to have the dust boot on the machine, and beforehand it's been kind of flopping around. And I've always been afraid that it was going to somehow jump out and then interfere with the bit during the middle of a cut and explode everything. But now it's got a nice place to live, whether you're changing a bit or doing some filming while you're cutting stuff. When you get this dust boot from Onefinity, it comes with these replaceable little Lexan or acrylic pieces. Now what Huntington builds is he has replaced that plate with one with magnets, so you can have different size plates that correspond with the size bit that you're using. So you can match these up to your specific project so you can get the maximum amount of suction for the bit that you're using. So if you're using a skinnier bit, use the skinnier plate, and if you're using a larger bit, use larger plates. It's actually super cool. It works really well. It's all magnetic, and these go right here on the separate little holder that just bolts right in. All of this just bolts right on to the top of the Onefinity. I haven't had any kind of an issue with this coming loose or joggling around. My machine, the jerk settings are up to, I think, 10,000, and this thing whips around a whole lot, and I have not had any worries that this was going to come off. These magnets are super strong. It looks like they're precariously laying there, but they're really in here. They're not moving around. So I've been very happy with that so far. If you want to take a look at that, I've got his Etsy page listed down below, as well as I think he's doing a 10% off coupon, possibly 5. I can't remember right now, but that will be listed down next to the link as well. Thank you very much, Huntington Builds, for sending that over. It has been awesome, and I'm loving it so far. So for anybody who's considering getting a Onefinity machine, this is the dust boot, is the Suck It dust boot, and this is actually the product that came before the Onefinity machine and is made by the Onefinity team as well. So this goes onto whatever hose that you are booming down. We'll talk about my boom setup in a little bit. And then this indexes into these two arms and magnetically holds. You can lower these arms up and down to meet the material thickness that you're working at. It is static. It does not move up and down with the router as the router moves. I've never used one where the dust boot goes up and down with the router or the spindle, so I'm not really sure if that is a better setup or not. But this one works out pretty well. You are limited suction-wise by a few things, and that's where these plates really do come in handy. It's restricting a lot of the overhead air, and it causes the suction to really get all the stuff, and all your chips don't really have anywhere to evacuate except for your dust collection. It's fine. I've broken it. I've put it back together. I've fixed it with super glue and blue tape, and it works out perfectly fine. But it's really nice now to have somewhere to put it so it's out of the way. Alright, so since we're on the topic of dust collection, let's go ahead and talk about these boom arms. If you have watched my channel for a while, you know that this is slightly different than the setup that I've had before. Unfortunately, I have broken the dust boom arm twice. I was told by Rowdy Roman that a big congratulations, because I was the first person that has ever broken it twice, which is pretty cool. So he sent over a different little bit. This actually replaces the plate that gives a little bit of cord management directly off of your router, and then it mounts to this bar, and then it goes over to this regular boom that I have been using. And all this works super well. If you end up buying something for Rowdy Roman's shop, just put Hamilton sent me and then he'll put candy in the packaging. Since we are on the topic of Rowdy Roman, 1 second. So this is the touch probe from Onefinity. I believe it's an accessory. I don't think it actually comes with a machine, but I use this with every single one of my projects that I'm doing. That's how I set up exactly where it needs to be cutting. Now, Rowdy Roman sells these little tiny holders for your touch probe, which I already have it countersinked and everything so that you can drill these into your existing wood structure, but since mine's metal, I drilled those out a little bit more so that I could rivet it to here. Now, the reason that I've got this at a tilt, I just find this a little bit easier to put this in and out because all these wires that are coming off the touch probe, for some reason, mine just kept on getting hooked up a little bit. So I've been waiting to put this until I knew the configuration that I wanted it. So mine is slightly tilted over. You, of course, can do yours however you want to, but these are pretty cheap and you can find those on his website, which will be linked down below. I had a dedicated video about me setting this up and why I was doing it, but essentially, I hate changing out the Festool bags. Now those bags fill up and those bags are expensive, so I wanted to add a Cyclone in between. So after making that video, Oneida got in touch with me and said, hey, we've got a new dust deputy that has the same bolt pattern, same everything. You can actually switch it out with your old one. So they sent that over and I have switched that out. I've loved the previous one, but they say that this one provides a certain percentage more suction. I think it's actually 25% more, which is great. So anything more is better. So I went ahead and put that on over here. Now, the great part about this system is I've probably emptied 6 full bags off of this of just sawdust. And when I popped open my Festool, I have not messed with it at all. It only had a corner filled with the bag, which I can only imagine is just because I let the plastic bag overfill and it started shooting dust into there. So this has been incredible. It's been super efficient and I would recommend it to anybody out there. Like I said, I'll have a link down below if you're interested in this system. The dust deputy that comes with it has been awesome and they just sent me this one as an upgrade, and as I'm using it I'll know a little bit better if it really does work better or if it's just bigger. So my absolute favorite accessory for the Onefinity is this light ring. Now this is made by Rowdy Roman. It is awesome. I know it's a huge creature comfort and it's one of those things that like you don't need for your machine at all, but I can't imagine getting some of the shots that I've gotten without having this light ring. It is very easy to install, and the power cord, you just run it wherever you're booming all of your dust collection, and it has been just a joy to use. I've got it set up where it automatically turns on when I turn on the machine, so I never really think about it, and it's been there for so long that I feel like it's just a part of the machine at this point, and if I were to lose it, I would automatically feel like something was lost from the machine. So I want to revisit the controller, only because I think that it should really just come with the Onefinity. It is indispensable. I would not be using this machine without this because of me probing the material and how easy this thing is to use, from going to super fast speeds, of being able to jog the machine around really easily, to just the crawl modes that it has enabled. That helps out so much when probing material, which is the majority of what I do for my projects. I can't speak highly enough about getting a remote control. I'll have mine linked down below, but it should just come with the machine in the first place. But they're awesome. So I've had a few people ask about the fabric that I've put on my Onefinity, and I'm just calling those my rail blankets. So they're awesome. I won't even lie, they're really great. They made it so that I never really think about if my machine's gonna get jammed up anymore. I take a peek behind them every once in a while and nothing's getting there. Of course, a fine dust is still going to settle on the top rails, but really the reason that I put them there is to keep the screws themselves clean. Now, the screws have been incredibly clean and I haven't had near the buildup that I've had before. You might say, well, if you have a good enough dust collection, you never have to think about that. And you're completely right. Most people are not going to have a good enough dust collection system where all of the dust is being sucked away from their router or from their spindle. So this was a very cheap, easy way of fixing this. So I'll put a link down below to the clips that I use. You just get a piece of fabric and clip it on, and it's funny because the clips even look like it has the Onefinity logo on them. But yeah, they're sick. Next up is something that I wasted a ton of money on. I should have never done it. I saw other people use T-Track and for their wasteboards, and I thought that that's what I needed. I didn't. I think maybe in the future, if I'm not probing material and I'm setting my own coordinates in there, that maybe it would be more useful, but for me right now it's more just in the way, because when I set up my files, especially for my very large batchings, I really want to be able to put screws in the middle of my material so that everything is held really well, and oftentimes I found that those screws are lining up perfectly with the tracks themselves. I never use the tracks, I never use the track clamps. I don't know what would be better. I've thought about putting down, instead of strips of MDF, I've thought about putting down strips of PVC, so they make a PVC type sheeting, but I don't know if my double-sided tape is going to stick too much to that and it's just going to become a sticky surface. So my wasteboard is something that I'm still kind of up in the air about. I don't really know how that's going to look in the future, but eventually I'll switch it around. I just haven't spent the time doing that yet. So if you're brand new to the CNC world and you've clicked on this video because you would like to know the accessories that are good for the Onefinity and you're just trying to figure out if Onefinity is the machine that you want to buy, I would take a very large step back and think way more about what program that you're going to be using rather than the type of machine that you're going to be using. The program is where you're going to have the biggest learning curve in the entire thing. Yes, I do think that the Onefinity is the best hobby grade machine out there, and I'm very, very happy with mine, and I would not trade it for anything else. It's way cheaper than some of the other hobby options, and I think it's way better. But all that saying, if you're brand new to CNC and you're just looking around and trying to figure out if it's a good investment for yourself, figure out if you enjoy doing a lot of the programming, if you enjoy figuring out how to make models. If you enjoy that aspect of it, you're really going to love CNC stuff. If you don't like sitting around on the computer and tinkering with models and trying to figure out the best way to make it the fastest and most clean cuts, then you're probably not going to enjoy running a CNC router. So I would focus way more on the program. I would download one of the free versions and try that out way before just going ahead and buying one of these machines. If you are looking to buy a machine, the Onefinity is awesome. I'm not sponsored by them, even though I'm wearing a Onefinity shirt. I really love my machine, and I think it is the best available hobby level CNC router machine right now. Hopefully the Onefinity community continues to grow as well as the machine. They just celebrated their 2-year mark and they have released a ton of stuff for this machine. In the future, I really hope that they add an automatic tool changer with the ability to go ahead and order a spindle, a VFD, as well as an ATC directly from Onefinity so that it's supported by them. That would be incredible. If that's in the works, Onefinity, go ahead and, let me know. I'll keep it nice and secret from everybody. I won't tell anybody, but it would be super sick. The amount of time that I spend wasting changing bits is a lot, and I would be willing to pay a lot of money so that the machine changed the bits for me. That would be primo. It's the only big gripe that I have with it, and the only reason that I would spend more money on a bigger machine is for an automatic tool changer. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you'll have a wonderful day. Bye.